Reporting to the 5-star generals, the global situation update for November 3rd is here. First piece of intelligence. It's official. The mask is off. The US has finally admitted its real motive in Venezuela. In a recent speech, US Southern Command Chief General Laura Richardson openly said what Washington has long denied. America's true concern in Latin America isn't democracy or human rights. It's control. Control over oil, lithium, gold, and rare earth minerals, the very resources that fuel the West's armies, industries, and empire. Richardson even called out Venezuela by name, noting it holds the world's largest proven oil reserves and a huge amount of strategic minerals. Let's be honest, the US is the biggest gang on the planet, hiding behind slogans about spreading freedom and democracy while looting other nations' resources and wealth. Wherever there's oil or minerals, you can bet the American buck shows up right after. Second piece of intelligence. Trump's stirring trouble again. This time, he's got his sights on Nigeria. He's basically saying, if Nigeria doesn't stop the killings of Christians, the US will cut aid and send troops. But hold on. The group killing Christians in Nigeria is Boko Haram, an armed organization, not the Nigerian government. What does that have to do with the state? Put bluntly, Trump's after the oil. After his chances at the Nobel Peace Prize evaporated, he's been looking for fights, targeting countries rich in resources. Russia is off the table. You don't pick the fight unless you want a national apocalypse. Venezuela was threatened, but Maduro still has strong domestic support and outside backers, so that one's trickier. Nigeria, though, looks more convenient. Lots of oil, weak state, few strong allies, a high-value target. If the US can use a fabricated Maduro drug cartel story as a pretext to move on Venezuela, why not use the pretext of combating armed groups to intervene in Nigeria? Before, the US at least wrapped these moves in diplomatic language. Now it's issuing outright threats to deploy troops on shaky, invented grounds. The world increasingly runs by whoever has the biggest fist. Third piece of intelligence. Here we go again. Benjamin Netanyahu made it clear at a government meeting that from now on, Israel will notify the US before its operations in Gaza, but it will never ask Washington for permission. He even vowed to eliminate Hamas and disarm Gaza, and said Israel would also deal with Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthi forces in Yemen if necessary. So far, only the Houthis have responded strongly. They warned that any aggression will be met with immediate and forceful retaliation. The bottom line, Israel is acting more independently and less concerned with US approval than before. In the past, Israeli leaders often watched Washington's reaction closely. Now they appear to be making decisions on their own. But the Houthis are no pushover. If anyone can force Israel to pay a price and swallow that humiliation, it could be them. Fourth piece of intelligence. Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz recently said something pretty sharp. Neither the US nor China is truly happy. The US doesn't want to be number 2, and China doesn't really want to be number 1. That view actually isn't new in China. Back when Obama floated the idea of a G2, Chinese commentators were already joking. It's not that China doesn't want to be the boss. It just wants to wait until it's fully ready. China's thinking goes something like this. When its national power and military strength truly rank first in the world, when the renminbi becomes a global currency, when people everywhere learn Chinese and watch Chinese media, and when both hard and soft power surpass all others, then being number 1 will come naturally, with legitimacy and stability. But before that, taking on the global leadership role without matching strengths would just mean more pressure and responsibility without real benefit, chasing vanity and trouble. Right now, the US still holds the monopoly on currency and global discourse, so why should China rush to shoulder the costs of leadership? Better to focus on domestic development first. As for the world's next leader, well, India seems to want the title more than anyone. Not long ago, an American think tank even ranked India's military strength as No. 3 and China's as No. 4, which, honestly, sounds perfect. Maybe they should bump India up a few more spots and let China take a step back, just to keep everyone happy. Fifth piece of intelligence. The fall of Red Army City is basically a done deal. About 80% of the area is either under Russian control or caught up in heavy fighting. Any talk from Kyiv that the situation is under control is nonsense. Zelensky isn't ready to concede. He's ordered Silsky to send the newly formed Lviv unit to try to plug the gap. That Lviv unit was raised in the west, right by Poland, so it can get supplies and training fast. It looks impressive on paper. But that's exactly the problem. Sending a fresh unit from the rear shows the front line has been drained dry. Earlier, Kyiv even flew Black Hawk helicopters carrying special forces into the fight. They landed and were wiped out within minutes. The fighting around Red Army City has been brutal. Russian forces aren't just holding Red Army City now. They're also pushing in the Zaporizhia and Kharkiv directions. It wouldn't be surprising if they reach the Dnipro River one day and start closing in on Kyiv. Zelensky hoped to win by bleeding Russia out. But Ukraine is running out of reserves. Keep fighting like this and it'll end up a fight to the last person. Sixth piece of intelligence. Ukraine is furious. I'm guarding the gate for you, and you stab me in the back. Zelensky is reportedly livid with Lithuania. Lithuania has long branded itself as one of Kyiv's staunchest allies, always shouting the loudest about standing with Ukraine. But behind the scenes, it's quietly struck a deal with Russia, allowing Russian natural gas to transit through Lithuania to supply Kaliningrad, while pocketing the transit fees. In past years, Lithuania made around €12 million annually from this deal, and the figure is set to rise this year. Ukraine, by contrast, banned all Russian gas transit long ago. So seeing as supposed the light turning around to do business with Moscow, that stings. From Kyiv's point of view, it's betrayal. Allies on the surface, deal-makers underneath. In the end, it's a reminder, when it comes to interests and profit, support can vanish in an instant.